Are you looking for a simple-to-use streaming set-top box? Or have you been thinking about upgrading from the 2020 version of the Roku Ultra? How much has changed and what hasn't changed? I'm Wanderer001. Let's get into it. I have been testing Roku streaming devices for a long time. See the list over there in the corner. And I keep coming back to them for their simple-to-use user interface and, for the most part, platform-agnostic approach to streaming. If you get other devices such as Amazon streaming stick or a Google branded streaming device, they're going to push their content first and foremost. While yes, Roku has moved into a few ad-supported TV streaming services, I don't feel that they beat you over the head quite as much as some of the other options out there. But you're here for the Roku Ultra 2024 version. And as you saw, if you have the 2020 version, there's not a lot that has changed, honestly, for the exterior design of the device. It is still completely matte black plastic all around, Roku branding on the top. When we come to the front of our device here, you'll notice right here, this is a little white LED letting you know the status of your Roku, whether it's on, whether you're transitioning to another channel. That's how you're gonna know. Coming along to the right-hand side, if we bring this into focus right here, this is a plus sign. You might think that is a volume control. This is actually your remote finder. Selecting this will find your remote, much like this. Coming around to the back, this Roku is one of the few that is going to have this, and this is your USB-A style 3.0 port. This is going to allow you to play localized files on your Roku as long as you have a drive that can work with that. To the right of that, we have our HDMI. This is HDMI 2.1B, slightly better than the 2020 version if you know your HDMI specs, but a welcomed upgrade. To the right of that, we have our Ethernet port. This is going to, again, be one of the reasons that you get the Ultra over one of the other Roku options, in that you can hardwire this directly into your network instead of relying on the Wi-Fi. Now, the Wi-Fi for this is no slouch. It is Wi-Fi 6 and supports both the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz band, meaning you are just currently, at time of filming, one step below the most current Wi-Fi standard, which you don't even see on a lot of new security cameras. And the fact that you have access to the 5 gigahertz, which is your faster Wi-Fi spectrum, as long as you have this device close enough to your Wi-Fi, you're going to be able to stream 4K videos with no problems over Wi-Fi, which is great. And then to the right of that, we have our barrel port for power. Now, if you are concerned about power usage, I test that for you. When idling, it only uses 2 watts of power, meaning it's on and it's not really doing anything. When it's on the homepage or screensaver, it also uses 2 watts of power. That depends on the screensaver you choose, so that's for the default Roku screensaver, just putting that out there. And when streaming a 1080 HD video, it uses between 3 to 4 watts of power. If you're streaming 4K, it will be a little more power intensive. Coming to the other side, or our left side, Roku has kept with their fabric tag to add a little flair to their devices than just a standard black box that you might get with other competitors. Coming to the bottom, we can see there is a large rubberized footprint. This is going to help it from sliding around. It is a remarkably light device, so the cables can add a lot of weight to the back of this, making it move around on you. This large rubber footprint will keep that from happening. And then right down here, we've got a reset button, which if we look at the old version, actually said reset. This one does not say reset. So if you ever wonder which version you ended up with, just look for that and you'll know for sure. One thing I want to bring to your attention is actually heat dissipation. There are no moving parts in this. It uses a heat sink. If you're worried about it getting too warm, don't be. I actually tested, and after 4 hours of streaming HD content on it, it was only between 86 to 87 degrees Fahrenheit. If that's too much for you, you can always put a heat pad or something underneath it so that it's not touching your entertainment cabinet. As you saw, it looks remarkably similar to its predecessor. Yes, there were incremental updates for the ports on the back. What about internals? Well, Roku is notorious for making it very difficult to find out any information about the actual internal workings of their Roku devices, so I have to rely on Wikipedia for that information. Internal storage is 4 gigabytes. Internal memory is 2 gigabytes, just like the previous model. The main difference interior-wise that has changed is the processor. It is using the Realtek 1619B, which is the main difference between the 2020 version, which is the Roku Ultra 4800 versus this model, the 4850, meaning it's only really a incremental half step, not a full new version. If you're concerned about it taking up too much space in your entertainment center, do not worry, it is only 4.9 by 5.0 by 1 inch. It's going to be a remarkably small footprint for you for all that it does. But the streaming device itself is only half of what you get with a streaming setup. The other half, the remote. And Roku has kept their very similarly styled shape for their Roku remotes. This is the current version of the Roku Voice Remote Pro version 2. You can tell it's the version 2 because it has this little rocket ship instead of a 1 and a 2. But let's take a quick look around. At the top here, we have our power button. This is not to power on your Roku. This is to power on your TV set. To the left of that, this is your microphone. This will allow you to speak commands to your Roku device via this push button here, or another option, which I'll show you momentarily. We have our back button and our home button. We have our directional D-pad as well as an OK button in the center. This is all rubberized and does have a nice tactical feel to it, but is not overly clicky, which is pretty good in my opinion. Coming down, we have our 30-second rewind, our push to talk for voice commands and searching. We have our asterisk key next to that. That's going to unlock some secondary menu options. Then we have our rewind, play, pause, and fast forward. Coming down, we have guide. This is going to bring up a guide of the fast streaming service for Roku. What is fast? Fast is free ad-supported TV. Roku has their own channel, and they make it so you can access it right from the remote. To the right of that, we have our rocket ship. This rocket ship replaces the 1 and 2 buttons that were here before. What this will do is bring up a 4-panel option menu, which will allow you to designate either 4 separate streaming channels that you want to have quick access to, or other areas within the Roku UI. Let me show you what that's like, as well as how to program that. Press and hold. And you can pick what you want to go there. Coming down, we have our paid advertising placement. That hasn't changed at all for Roku. It's always going to have people who have chosen to show up on the Roku remote. The only problem with this, you can never change that from Netflix. You can never change that from Disney Plus. You can't change that from Apple TV, and you can't change Amazon. You might have different options on your remote than I do because it's whoever paid the most at the time. For me, Apple TV, I don't generally keep that on all the time, so that's a useless button for me like 90% of the time. One thing that might be difficult to notice is the remote, the front of it, the keys light up. That is a welcome change from Roku remotes of the past. You pick up the remote now, and these lights will come on. Now, powering these lights is an internal 1600 milliamp battery. What does that mean? Well, if we flip it over, no longer do you have a place to put AA or AAA batteries. This is all powered by a non-replaceable lithium-ion battery, and right down there you can see the USB-C charging port for charging that battery. How long does it take to charge? Well, in my testing, it took about 4 hours to charge in the 2 cycles that I've done. I am currently on week 3, and I'm only down to 70% of battery at time of filming. You'll notice right here there is a nice cutout for your finger to rest in, as well as a speaker because, well, if you use that remote finder, that's where the sound comes out of. And then up here, you can see this is where your IR blaster is hidden behind. If we come over to the right-hand side of the remote, we can see a volume up and volume down. That is going to be for the TV set that you pair with your Roku and this remote. And then right here, we have our mute button. A mute button is a necessity on any smart streaming device. And if yours does not have a mute button, you might want to consider looking at another device. If we come over to the other side, this is one thing that I do not necessarily think I appreciate Roku doing, and you can see I have it in the off position already. This is an always active listening mode for the Roku remote. Remember how I told you could push and hold and have the Roku search for something or open a channel up? Well, if you don't want to push that button and you want your remote listening to you, just like an Amazon Echo or your smartphone, you simply toggle this on. You heard that little beep, and there's going to be a light right there that listens for you to say the trigger word, "Hey Roku," and you can see it popping up right there. Now, it's not 100% perfect because I could say, "Hey Ruru," and it lights up because it's listening for a specific sounding syllable or inflection in your voice. But if you're curious as to what that looks like in action, voice assistant examples. "Hey Roku, open Netflix." "Hey Roku, home." "Hey Roku, Mark Hamill." "Hey Roku, home." "Hey Roku, DuckTales." While not my favorite for the remote itself, I can see people who would find that useful, so hopefully you found that demonstration useful as well. Bringing our device back into frame, what else do we get in the box? Well, aside from the streaming player itself and the remote, you also get a USB-C charging cable for the remote, a premium HD cable, and a power adapter. Now that we've taken a look at our hardware and we know what we get in the box, what's next? Well, setup. As I mentioned, Roku is still one of my go-to streaming devices, and that's because of the simplicity of use of it. That also means the setup is really easy to do. It is mostly plug and play, pair the remote Roku and the TV, link to and or set up a Roku account, and then preload some streaming services. 1, 2, 3, you're ready to go. I will state that I know this next section is going to be rather long, but I will be showing you everything that you can do in all the menus and options. If you're already familiar with Roku's user interface, I will have timestamps below where you can skip ahead to the next portion. This is the user interface for the Roku Ultra. If you're familiar with Roku's interface, it hasn't really changed all that much over the years. There have been some slight UI changes, as you can kind of see here if you're familiar with the interface. If this is your first time seeing the Roku interface, I will say Roku does have one of the more simplistic interfaces on the market, so that does make things a little easier for navigation. There is a level of customization that I also appreciate, which helps to make it, 1, not as cluttered, and 2, a little more personalized. Starting off, you're going to see in the background, that is something that can be changed. This is a seasonal background that I have up right now, and there is a default background, which you've probably seen, but this is changeable, which I will show you later through the settings area. Just know you have lots of options. If you have not noticed, Roku is actually an ad-supported platform. One of the things that I don't appreciate is that Roku now has in the lower left-hand corner, ad space, which used to be empty and allow you to have a larger side menu there. You can still get around, you just have to scroll a little more before you actually see things. When I navigate over to the right-hand side, this is where your streaming content is going to live. Each of them is a channel. It is these boxes down here. Over to the far right, you can see there is another predominant ad space. This one is always going to be there. Even if you have means of blocking ads at your router level, there'll be an empty box. Lower left-hand corner one won't be there. Food for thought. What you also may notice is rather than starting on your applications, it's starting me off on things that it thinks I will enjoy. Now, I can tell you right now, I've never watched the show or anything that would make Roku think that I would like this. In fact, I went back to my previous review and this was suggested to me then as well. It's not something I would watch. Football, possibly. Home Alone, yeah, I'd probably watch that. But if I select See All, that's going to bring me into what it considers top picks for you. And this is going to be streaming channels and movies. And here it has Continue Watching. Right now, I could tell you that if you look underneath each of these, it lets you know what channel these are being watched on. And I could say these are accurate for the Continue Watching area. The saved, well, this is pulling from all of the channels that you have on here. So that's kind of nice, featured on Roku. One of the things that Roku has kind of moved more towards is being a fast service, which is free ad-supported television, relying less on you subscribing to services such as Netflix or Amazon Prime or Disney Plus, things of that nature. What you can see is as I'm clicking around through my services, well, they are getting highlighted with a white box around it. If I don't particularly care for the order, and I don't because Roku thinks it knows better than me, but it doesn't. If I wanted to move this, I simply select the star icon on my remote, and this will allow me to move the app to the top, check for updates, or remove the app. So if I select move the app to the top, well, that's going to allow me to stick it where I'd like, and I simply select the OK button to lock it in place. Selecting the star icon, move to top, which is what I thought I did originally, will allow it to be placed to the front spot. So if I put Netflix back there, it's back being at the front. You can see the name of whatever I am currently selected is located in the upper left-hand corner. And to the right of that number, you see a 4 out of 32. This lets you know that I am on the 4th channel of the 32 channels that I have on my Roku device. In the far right-hand corner, it's giving you an idea of what you can do, which is hit the star icon to access that options menu that I showed you before. And then to the far right, you see the current time. If you wanted to select an ad, you simply come to it and select OK. I could bring myself back all the way to the start menu simply by hitting the home button, which as you can see, it'll bring me to the home. If I wanted to actually interact with that ad or that Christmas time favorite, I simply press the play pause and it will launch the channel, in this case, the Roku channel, that happens to be on. Now that we know how to navigate for our content, let's move into some of the other things that we can do. Left-hand menu, coming down, we have live TV. These are going to be all the live services that are offered from Roku. Here we can see it's got a live channel guide, live now, ABC Live. As I said, Roku is moving towards a fast service to help cover their ad spots because they're going to make more money watching the fast services because just like regular linear TV, you do have ad break. After live TV, we have search. We can search for people, movies, TV shows, Mark Hamill. Here we can see I did a quick search for Mark Hamill, and it's showing me movies that he was in, quite famously, popular movies, DC superhero films, and the like. Coming down to want to watch, here we have your apps, continue watching, save, now streaming on Disney Plus, featured on the Roku channel, popular, free series. So if you're not sure what you want to watch, Roku will make some suggestions and give you options to get you into watching something faster. Featured free, well, these are going to be your featured free movies or TV shows. Notice each will tell you where it's located. So this is on the Roku channel. Coming down, we have Tubi, Blossom. Don't think I've heard of that one. Pluto, I've used that one. Have a link to a review in the corner if you're interested. That's featured free. Daily Trivia is a nice addition where it will test your trivia on TV shows, movies, going back to some in the early 90s to modern day. Are a lot of questions that pertain to Roku specific TV shows. So just know, but it's a nice extra to have. Here we have sports. So how do you want to find your sports? Well, you can do so from this screen right here. Streaming store. Well, let's say you don't have an app on here already. Like myself, I transferred from another Roku device. I had a Roku account. It pulled in all my application. If I don't have a Roku app, I simply come and I search for it. I can look through recommended apps. So this is going to be based on what's already on my Roku. Or I can search for a specific application. And then here we can see, it even tells me here are popular apps. And the check mark means that it is installed on my device. We're going to come all the way back and then see my offers. This is going to let you know, hey, Roku's having some deals. You could pick up this smart home camera or this Roku Express at a discount. Maybe you're more into the streaming stick form factor. Here's a discount for you. The My Offers area, in my opinion, is not that invasive, but the fact that I have all this extra stuff on the side does bother me quite a bit. But luckily, we can change that in the settings area and remove some unwanted things. Moving over to the right, About is going to give you information about your network. I won't be showing that. Lots of sensitive information in there. You can check your connection. So if you're using this over Wi-Fi and don't necessarily know what's going on, you can check your connection and it will check to make sure everything is working correctly. In my case, I have a wired connection and it's taking a little bit of time to check my internet, but I am good to go. You have setup connection, wireless or wired. As you might imagine, if you select wired, you just plug your cable into the back of the Roku. If you select wireless, you will have to put in your Wi-Fi credentials. And then here we have bandwidth saver. So you have options for on and off. If you haven't used your remote in 4 hours, a message will display asking you if you still are watching. If there's no response, the channel will automatically stop streaming to save you network bandwidth. So if you have data cap, that could be useful. Coming down, remotes and devices. Well, right now I'm using the Voice Remote Pro. If I select this, it's going to show me about. So that's going to give me the status, battery level, and some other useful information. From here, I can also select Find My Remote, which you might be asking yourself, if you're navigating currently using the remote, how could I use that? Well, if you use the Roku application, you would be able to use the application to select this menu. Or there's a button on the Roku itself. In my case, I'm going to select this and bring the pinging remote a little closer to the microphone so you can hear what that sounds like. You also can change the remote finder sound. Here are some options: referee, sonar, and whistle. Preview remote finder sound. And now the remote finder, the remote itself was making that noise rather than the TV. Set up remote for TV control. You have IR setup and then CEC setup. This will allow you to use your remote to change the volume or mute your TV, as well as turn on and off your TV. Hands-free, well, I currently have this turned off. There's a hard switch on the device, which will constantly make it listen for the wake word AR, just in case you're watching this and haven't changed that yet. I don't particularly care for devices that do that. So for me, this was one of the first things that I turned off. But thankfully, it's just a switch on the remote. Coming back, if we select add a new remote, we can walk through the process of pairing a new remote. You can have several remotes paired to the same Roku. I pretty much have like 3 remotes at all times paired to my Roku, one for me, one for my wife, and then one that floats around the house in case either of us lose the remote. You can also set up wireless headphones. So similarly to how you would set up a new remote, this is how you would do that. And then smartphone or tablet. If I wanted to add smartphone or tablet, so here I'd select pair, and then it would search for a Bluetooth device. Keep in mind that to use the Roku app, it does not necessarily have to be paired to the Roku device. Coming back, we have our themes. As I mentioned before, right now, my wallpaper is a separate wallpaper. It's a seasonal. You have choices of theme packs, which will change both the wallpaper and screensaver. So if I happen to select this one and set this as my pack, it will go through the process of installing it. And now, not only did my background change, my screensaver will change, so does the sound that it makes while I'm navigating. Hypothetically, if you didn't want to have a theme pack, you could select just a wallpaper. And anything that has a check mark means that it's been downloaded to my device, but not necessarily in place. So right here, we have this one, a summer beach theme. Notice it says dynamic. That means based on time of day or season, things will happen. It will change. If I select get this wallpaper, well, now it's going to download this wallpaper to my Roku device, allowing me to use it. Because it's not part of a theme pack, I can have a different screensaver as well. From here, once it's finished downloading, I can set as wallpaper, remove wallpaper, or view screenshots. So this will give me an idea of what this particular wallpaper would look like. In my case, I'm going to set it as my wallpaper, give us a nice beachy theme to look at, and come over to screensaver. So from here, I can select any number of screensavers. Some of them, like Roku City here, have a scrolling theme that does change. The one problem that I have with Roku screensavers is Roku is an ad-supported service. All of the screensavers have things like this, as you see scrolling across your screen right now. This is an ad. There are several ad locations, and they even have started with the buildings in the back adding new types of ads. There was one for, I want to say, Taylor Swift and the Ghostbusters movie when it came out. They had a designated building space just for that ad. One thing I will give Roku credit for, and I complained about this in every Roku review I did in the past, is that if you look at the ad itself, it is now flashing the star button. In the past, if you hit the play button or the OK button to end your screensaver, it would automatically add that channel or bring you to that event. Now you have to hit the star. But look in the background right there. You can see one of the new ad types that I mentioned. This one is for Nissan, and that is a specialized building space that gets swapped out with the ad of the month. One thing I can tell you is if you don't mind a more children's-based screensaver, this is one of the only screensavers that does not have ads pop up. So there's a trade-off there, and we're going to come back. Moving on, we have our sounds. So again, if we're separating this from the theme pack, we can designate our sounds. This is going to be the badoop badoop sounds,
or screen selection sounds. If you have your sounds turned off, it doesn't matter, but just know that's where you go for that. Seasonal wallpapers, you can turn those on or off depending on if you want things popping up seasonally. I like it. It's a nice change of pace. Sponsored wallpapers, well, you can turn that on or off. So if you don't want to have a sponsor take over your wallpaper, I would come in here and turn that off. Wallpaper animations, on or off. Notice over in the right-hand corner, you see a little subtle animation. That's what they mean. Screensaver start time. How long before the screensaver actually kicks in. You can have it as low as 1 minute and up to 30 minutes. And if you really screw things up, you can restore your default theme. Coming back, we have our display type. You have automatic. In this case, it's detecting a 1080p, or I can do manual for 4K Dolby Vision HDR TV, which don't have, but we can go all the way down to 720p. Next, we have accessibility. Here we have our caption modes. Off, always on replay. And then we have lots, and I mean lots of accessibility options from our actual text styles, which I like that they show you what it would look like, text edging effects, and you can see right there what that looks like. Text size, do you need really, really big, or can you get away with extra small? Text color. You've got, again, plenty of options depending on your needs. Your ability to see through the text, can't say that word. Background color, background see-throughness, we'll say. Window color. And again, I like the fact that they give you that preview, and then window ability to be seen through. That's all under just our caption styles. Caption preference language. You can come in here and pick what you like. You've got screen reader options. So if you turn this on,
screen reader enabled. Inaccessibility. Screen reader disabled.
Read off what it's doing, where it is, things of that nature. You have your speech rate, so normal, slow, very slow, and then slowest, depending on what you need. And then volume, medium, high, and low. Pitch, you need a lower tone, or do you need something that's a little higher? And then shortcut. If this is turned on by pressing the start button on your remote 4 times in a row quickly, it will bring this up. Autoplay video, you can turn that on or off, because there are some services that automatically play their videos when you click in. You can stop that at the Roku level. That's all under accessibility. Coming down, we have audio. We have menu volume. So again, this is going to be the ba-doop sounds that you hear as you navigate through. Audio preferred language. What is the default language for your Roku? Preferred streaming format. I leave it at auto, but if you know what you're doing and want to set it for Dolby or DTS, you can. And then digital output format. You've got auto pass-through, stereo, and custom. Again, you can leave it at auto and just be fine. Backdrops. So if I open the Backdrops app, this pretty much turns your TV into kind of like art, we'll say. As you can see, it's a picture frame. Not necessarily want to do that for me because I don't want it using more power than it needs to. Guest mode. One, you need to input your Roku pin in order to actually enter guest mode. But in guest mode, somebody, a babysitter, pet sitter, something like that, they can input their own subscriptions, Netflix, Hulu, and watch directly on your Roku. They could also just cast to your Roku, but you could set your Roku up to do that and save them the trouble. Home screen. Well, here we have app order. This is something that was recently introduced where if I select automatic based on my utilization of channel apps, it will automatically place them on that homepage. I do not particularly care for this because I always know where something is supposed to be in the grid. But if you are a little more open to that, that's where you can come to change that. Recommendation row. Well, here we go. That row I talked about at the top, if I select hide and I come back here, look, that recommendation row is now gone. Here we can select tile size. So those are the app tiles, and live TV, show, hide, what to watch, show, hide, feature free, show, hide. All these things in here, you can hide them, and it will help shrink down the menu on the left here. I'm going to do this really quick. You could hide the My Offers, but now if I come here, my side menu, much more streamlined. Coming down, you have payment method. You have to set up a payment method with Roku when you first create your account. Partially done because there are several ways that Roku can automatically pay for channels based on your Roku account. If you need to see this information, that's where it is, but you can also access it from the web. Apple Air and HomeKit, I don't have. If you need to know where that is, this is where it is. Legal notice, well, this is going to show you privacy policy, terms of use, accounts, terms and condition, third-party licensing, regulatory e-label, all the fun stuff that nobody bothers reading. Do recommend that you come through here. Advertising, you have sensitive content and advertising identifier. Notice I do not have personal ads turned on. That means I'm going to see generic ads. I recommend turning this off as soon as you get your Roku device because you don't want Roku gathering more data on you to share with advertisers. If you want to see more relevant ads, be my guest. But I turn these off as soon as I get a new Roku. And then every couple of weeks, I'll actually come in here and reset my advertiser ID. This way they have to start over based on the generic profile that they're creating for me. Voices, you have microphone access. So you have app, prompt, always or never. And the same thing with app, you can reset. What this does is with prompt, if I want microphone access, it will say, are you sure you want to allow access? Which is generally how I prefer things to happen. You can also turn off speech recognition if you are worried about those types of things. Privacy policy, well, this will bring you to Roku's privacy policy. Privacy choice, notice here, do not share or sell my information. And then you can also limit use of sensitive information. And then California privacy notice. So it'll bring you to that if you hit the OK button. Help? Well, you have voice help or Roku quick tips. Roku quick tips I kind of like because it actually is, as you see, it's adding an application to the Roku itself, and it will bring you through some videos if this is your first time utilizing Roku. And here, if I come here now, it will launch that Roku channel. And here you go. It's letting you know what you can do. And then each of these is just a quick little video. And then last but not least, we have system. Over there on the right, about is going to show you information about your account as well as the individual Roku itself. A lot of sensitive information in there. Won't be showing you that, just like I won't be showing you zip code. Coming down, we do have time zones where I can select my time zone. I would recommend just leaving this on automatic, but you could set that to manual if you chose, just like your time format, 12-hour or 24-hour. USB settings. Well, here we have auto launch. I like anything to prompt me when I plug something in, so I have to confirm it. And then launch app, Roku Media Player. That is the application I need if I want to watch videos from a USB stick. Control other devices. We have one touch play. Here's how you can turn that on or off. We have our language. Again, lots of choices there. Screen mirroring. I can set up screen mirroring mode. Prompt, always show, always allow, never allow. Screen mirroring devices. Right now, I don't have any selected, but this is where you can find that information, software. If you ever need to check and see if your Roku has an update, this is where you can come and do that. Roku is pretty good about pushing out updates, but here you could see I had 2 channels that updated on me that might not have been caught by the firmware push that Roku does for their device itself. Now we have power settings. I have auto power off settings, meaning after 20 minutes of no interaction, it will turn the system off, helping save me a little power. And then system restart. If for whatever reason you need to fully reboot your Roku device, this is how you could do that because there is no physical button to restart your Roku device. And then we have advanced system settings, factory reset. Got to put in a randomized code that will change every time to factory reset. You have network connection reset, device connect, which allows for Roku remotes, mirroring devices, things of that nature, control by mobile, network access, default, permissive, or disabled. This is how you can use the Roku app without actually having to patch it to your Roku device because it's just on the same Wi-Fi network. And then advanced display settings. So you can auto adjust display rate, but that does kind of give motion blurring. And some people don't particularly care for that. But that was all under our system, which is the last bit of our settings. That has been how to navigate your Roku Ultra.
There you saw. Really simple to navigate and get straight to your streaming services, even if Roku is pushing some of their ad-supported TV services up front a little more than they used to. That's the way a lot of hardware manufacturers are going. There is a lot to like about the Roku Ultra, but that doesn't mean that it is not without its shortcomings, which I want to point out for you as data points. First and foremost, it is very ad-supported compared to how Roku devices have been in the past. I've been testing them, again, for a really long time. See the list over there in the corner, and I really notice them pushing the ads. There are a lot of other companies that are doing the same, so it's not limited to Roku, but it just feels like a slap in the face when I compare it to what things used to be like. Second, it feels very much like they're pushing their fast services over the actual streaming services that you are paying for. Don't get me wrong, I do use and watch Roku's fast streaming services, but I want to have the choice to go and pick those up on my own rather than Roku shoving them in my face. I get it. If you don't have Netflix, Hulu, things of that nature, having fast services right up front gives you something to watch while you consider purchasing other services, but just Roku, tone it down a little bit. And the last con for me is the always listening remote. I do not feel it is necessary in any way, shape, or form. I do not want another device listening to me, let alone Roku, who will use that data to feed me ads on the thing that I stare at 90% of the time when I'm actually looking at my TV. Yes, you can turn it off, but I wish I could get a remote like this without that option. Again, data point for you to determine if that is a deal breaker or not for you. Overall, Roku is still one of my favorite streaming platforms for the simple to use and straightforward navigation, and is what I tend to recommend to most of my friends and family looking for a streaming set-top box. If you're looking for an upgrade from the 2020 version of the Roku Ultra, or just a solid streaming set-top box, I can recommend the Roku Ultra version 4850. But if you can't justify the incremental update from the 2020 version, you could just pick up the remote and eke out another year or so of the original Roku Ultra. Realistically, you only notice it when navigating the menus. When you're streaming, I didn't really feel a difference. That doesn't mean I still wouldn't recommend it, but if you're considering the upgrade and you can deal with slightly sluggish menus, maybe wait for a full version update. Just a data point for your consideration. However, if this sounds like the streaming set-top box you've been looking for, I will have a link where you can pick one up for yourself in the description area below. If you appreciate the time and effort that goes into making comprehensive videos like this, make sure to hit that like button to help other people find the video as well. If you like what I'm doing here and want to be notified of my next review, hit that subscribe button. Still not sure if this is the right streaming box for you? On screen now, you'll see 2 other reviews that I've done to help you make a more informed decision for yourself.